This is an honest breakdown of why a Black American has chosen Ghana to build. Somewhere in my life, someone was bold enough to ask me, no, but where are you really from? Why I am choosing Ghana as my spiritual, emotional place to exist all at once. Hi everyone, thank you so much for watching this video so far. I want you to know that without your support, I could not make this channel possible. And so to continue to support me and to make sure that you are supporting, I just want to make sure that you're subscribed. If you are not subscribed, please go down below right next to my name and click the subscribe button. It's free, and it makes sure that my message continues to get out to more viewers, more audiences, and more people who are interested in this content. Thank you for supporting my channel. Somewhere in my life, someone was bold enough to ask me, no, but where are you really from? Now let me tell you and break this down for you. As a Black American, a part of the diaspora, it has always been a struggle of mine to know and identify with my roots. Throughout my childhood, I searched Rastafari, Du Bois, Liberia, Garvey, Malcolm X. I searched around the world and around the states and around my community for any sense of identity and belonging so that I could reclaim Africa as rightfully a piece of mind and as rightfully as me being a part of the motherland. This is not a travel video. This is not a year of return video. This is a video about the story of a Black American who struggled with his identity and sought to reconnect with his African roots via going to Ghana for heritage tourism. It's about why I am choosing Ghana as my spiritual, emotional, and metaphysical place to exist all at once. This is an honest breakdown of why a Black American has chosen Ghana to build. From the spiritual, the ancestral, and the physical connection, all three of them matter. As a Black American in the diaspora, Ghana and much of West Africa signifies returning home and reclaiming roots. This has been a long trend and for Black Americans. I mean, you have Liberia, you have Sierra Leone. These are colonies where Black Americans who were, I guess you might call them enslaved Black people, were at once freed, and they decided to go back to build a colony in Africa for previously enslaved Africans. And so that you have happening going on like in the 1900s, 1800s, mid 1800s, early 1900s. And then you have this whole Marcus Garvey return to Africa come around, right? So returning to Africa, repatriating, it's nothing new for Black Americans, but it is something that is becoming a lot more prevalent in today's age as people, one, realize the present that Africa is, but also realize that they are disconnected from their roots and their ancestors. And for people who are wanting more meaning for life and want to pour and build in communities that look like them. That's why this video is important. Now, I won't neglect that Ghana was a part of the transatlantic slave trade. I mean, there was Elmina Castle, there was Jamestown, there's Osu. There are so many histories of colonial powers in Ghana. However, I am not blaming Ghana. I am blaming the colonial powers who came and corrupted the system that was there and the people that were there, and that made them march and put them in chains and shackles and sent them through the door of no return. So in this video, and in my writing, when I say Ghana is my personal Mecca, I mean that precisely. Not as ownership, as belonging, as someone who is a part of the motherland and is far from home and has that yearning call to come back home. My name is Justin. Thank you for joining today. Ghana is like my Israel waiting to be reclaimed. So W.E. Du Bois, in his The Souls of Black Folk, coined this term called double consciousness. And to me, what I feel like double consciousness is, it is living Black in a Black body in a white society. And so when I walk into places and spaces, I, one, literally experience how this person perceives me, how they looked at me, what their perception of me was, what their inner thoughts or their stereotypes might have been based on their facial expressions. But at the same time, the double consciousness is I am externally witnessing that. So it's almost like there's this omniscient character who is like a god-like character, not God, but like a god-like who sees everything, all knowing, and I am watching this happen to me in day, and it's an out-of-body experience that I can't explain except other than being in places and spaces where your soul doesn't belong, and you feel that no matter how hard you try, no matter how hard you work, you just do not connect and you do not resonate. That is what double consciousness means to me. And as a Black American living in America, I mean, I've lived in double consciousness my whole life. I've always had to be weary of what I said, what I wore, how I dressed, what my hair looked like, you know, how I presented myself, what were my mannerisms. Because believe it or not, I was a little Black boy that was always on a platform and always ready, and people were waiting to see me fail. That's just how the system's set up. You know, I don't get the same grace that other counterparts might. So in turn, double consciousness is almost this sort of internal circadian rhythm that pushes you to overstrive and be over ambitious just to even get the bare minimum. I mean, I'm sure you've been told before by your parents, do twice as much to only get half. Yeah, I've been told that my whole life. And that is a result of double consciousness, because no matter how hard I try, I'm still a Black man. And even if I'm a Black man and I work in the White House and I run the White House, i.e. Barack Obama, the system and the sphere of double consciousness which we exist in will always remind you that you're still a Black man. That's what double consciousness is. That's what I feel like Du Bois meant, and that's what I think he tries to get down to at the bottom of his argument, is that even climbing society and through class and going to these elite echelons, you are still reminded of your mere Blackness. Whether it's when you look in the mirror, whether it's when you step outside in your suburban neighborhood and you see that you're the only Black family that lives there, you are still reminded, and no amount of money can erase Blackness. And so I think coming into this new modern age, double consciousness takes on this sort of meaning where it is combined with classism and racism, because just because you are of a higher class does not necessarily mean you have access, right? That's classism. Racism is racism. Racism is people judging you based on your skin. What I am saying here is that classism and racism overlap, because as Black people climb the social ladder and they become closer to these elite spaces, they're actually pushed further away from those elite spaces. And not only are they pushed further away from their elite spaces, but they're almost ostracized by their own community because they're too good. They're too white, right? That's the double consciousness. The I don't even belong in my own community, but I don't even belong in this world. So where do I belong? Okay. See, double consciousness will have you existing, questioning, was I too loud? Is my hair okay? Is my cultural attire fine? But see, in Ghana, that was different. In Ghana, I got to exist. In Ghana, I got to be a free Black man. In Ghana, I got to let my hair down and just enjoy life. You know, at first I was looking over my shoulders. I was a little on edge because I came with that sort of vigilance that you would have in America as a Black man, right? When I got to Ghana and I saw how Blackness was intertwined and twirled into every niche and nook and cranny of the Ghanaian society, it like allowed me to breathe and it allowed me to feel seen. And I'll say the first example of when I experienced this double consciousness sort of breaking is when I arrived at the airport. The second I arrived at Kotoka International Airport, I cried. Like, I don't know why, but I had tears like running down my face. And I feel like it's because like my soul felt so connected with the physical presence of where I was. And so next thing, I walk out of the gate and I see a security guard and we just look at each other. And you know what we do? We give each other the head nod. The head nod that I'm sure plenty of Black men know. The head nod, the respectability head nod. The I see you, brother. I see you. What's up? I see you. And I see you existing in this white space and I'm existing in it too. What's up? It's an acknowledgement. It's a form of respect, you know? And it's something that we as Black men are taught by our elders. You're just taught in culture like that, like in barbershops or, you know, in like black spaces where you exist as a black man, you just know the sort of lingo and the street talk. And a head nod is a street talk. And a head nod says everything that needs to be said without saying it. It lets you know, and it lets me know we ain't got no beef. We ain't got no smoke, right? We coolin'. It's a head nod. And so coming out of that, and everyone is black in Ghana. I mean, it is shocking to say that, and it's probably shocking to hear, but it was like I was questioning so many things, like, how do I exist in an all black society? Because I'm not used to this, or am I judging them, or are they judging me? And it's like you start to become very hyper aware. And so I will say my first few days there, to my first week or two, I was very hyper aware about just being this American in Ghana. And I don't like the term calling myself a black American or a repatriate. You know, I just like the term that I'm black, like I'm a part of the diaspora, like I'm African. That's my motherland. I mean, I know where I'm come from. I've taken the time and I take the pride in doing that. But I will say that slowly wore off as sort of being that black American, that label. However, I will say there are times where it is warranted, and this is something that I had a conversation about with some local Ghanaians, is that I call myself a black American, not to make myself seem better, not to differentiate myself from anyone else in Ghana, but because that itself comes with its own experience. It comes with the experience of the chattel slavery, the door of no return, the being ripped away from my family, my brothers, my sisters, my mothers, my cousins. It comes with rape, with Jim Crow, with redlining. So that is why when I say black American, I wear it with pride, because it is a reverence to the people that came before me and paying respect and not just brushing them under the rug, because without them I would not be here. I am what my ancestors dreamed up, and I'm proud of that. So today's topic is important because I'm gonna really put y'all into some numbers right here. In 2025, the Ghanaian Cedi was one of the best, if not the best performing currencies in Africa. What does that mean for you, as someone who might be looking to invest, or someone who's invested in Africa? That means that Ghana's economy is stabilizing. That means they're geopolitically safe. That means that their economy is growing. That means that you don't have to worry about your money going into an economy and crashing. You see? And so what this means for black Americans when we start to talk about double consciousness, and the next thing we do is, how do I escape this double consciousness? Right? The next thing that logically you want to do is escape. So how do you do that? Well, you begin to build in places where people look like you. And Ghana is an emerging entrepreneurial scene. When I was there, I saw tons of high rises that were being developed in Airport City near the airport. There were tons of lounges along like Labadi Beach that are being built. I mean, they're building roads, they're building highways, like they are truly developing Africa. And so me as a black American, I'm very money motivated. And so I get to Ghana and I see so many potential business opportunities. And one is just opening a fusion restaurant. I mean, imagine soul food times Ghanaian food. You know, but even soul food times Ghanaian food times an Asian flair. There are so many niches and so many gaps that can be filled in the market in Ghana that it's crazy. And so me particularly, where I am leveraging my experience and where I am working to contribute to the economy is building a business. I am building my fashion business, Hotep Negus, which I've talked about plenty of times on this channel, based out of the atelier in Ghana. And so I choose Ghana because to me, Ghana represents freedom, safety, security, and peace. Without a doubt. Ghana felt like I was at home for the first time, and it has a really special place in my heart. So as I think about where do I want to build a business, where do I want to invest, where can I see myself repatriating to, where can I see myself getting a second passport, that's why I chose Ghana. One, the performing currency doing so well. Two, it's geopolitically safe. But three, there's such an untapped market, and there's huge amounts of investment going into Africa right now, especially Ghana. And so with my skills in digital marketing, content curation, and sort of international development, that mindset, I've come together to sort of create a business where I bridge my culture, the Black American culture and that sort of fashion, with my interest and love for fashion, couture, and sort of runway and sort of bespoke, with the reclamation piece. And there is this trend that no one is talking about of Black Americans who are becoming more and more prideful in their African heritage, and who are reclaiming it by wearing the bangles on the arms, the dashikis, the mudcloth, the batik. They're wearing the sandals, they have the straw bags, and they have their hairs up in the updos, and they wear the earrings, and it is so much. And I could not imagine a world where the artisanship of Africa, the luxury artisanship, was not on the world stage. And so I am filling a gap. I like to call it the Amazon of Africa, except Amazon actually doesn't do it justice. It's more of the Urban Outfitters of Africa. Why? Because it is a brand of brands. So within Hotep News, you have the beauty brand, which is the shea butters, the oils, the scents, the black soap, the hair oils, the beauty. Anything beauty related, think about it. Then you have the fashion brand. The fashion brand, which is called, so you have Neteru Beauty, Neteru, Neteru Beauty. Then you have Zamani, which means the past in Swahili, because it is sort of like my Sankofa, and naming it Zamani to pay homage to the people that came before me, but also to pay homage to the past and the past, but also it's the present and the future, and that's what no one talks about. And I want to say there's this guy named John Mubiti. I'm not sure if I'm saying his last name right, but he talks about how like time is a social construct and how time really works in Africa. But anyways, besides my point, Zamani, the past, which is the fashion house where I am styling people and fashions and different designs, and I'm building mood boards in order to exhibit. Think of it like this. What if Africa conquered the West? What would fashion look like? It would be high fashion still, with neck pieces and with skirts and with all kinds of avant-garde. That's what it is. African exceptionalism shown through avant-garde pieces. And so as you can see on the screen here, I've gone through, I made a Pinterest mood board. And right now I'm just in the part where I'm just kind of making capital. I'm trying to get money. I'm pouring capital. It's hard doing it by yourself, and nothing happens overnight. So I'm understanding the delayed gratification. But then there's the beauty, or there's the home decor piece called Domu. So Domu means home, abode in some West African dialects. And this is like, again, it's so intertwined, because how you live, what you put on it in your body, and then what you wear, it all speaks reverence, and it all pays homage to the ancestors. But not only that, it all is spiritual, and it all empowers you. And so that is what Ghana did to me. Like, Ghana made me see, not just start another e-commerce Shopify brand where I'm just like, black or white labeling and sending things from China in a package with my label on it. No. Going to Ghana made me intentional with how I chose to build my business. Like I said, I could have built this way smaller, put less upfront costs, and just, cheaply scaled it, and honestly had cheap products. But what I wanted to do is create community between the artisans and the local people, and then the tourists who are coming, and have the tourists come, go to the atelier, see the women working and weaving, and see the men making the batik and dyeing the mudcloth. To me, it was all about experience, because that is the experience that I got. And I believe that if every Black person, every part of the diaspora had that experience, they too themselves would immediately flee the West. There would be a Western brain drain. Everyone would immediately go back to China, to Africa, because China is welcoming, and China is very big in Africa as well. They're investing, guys. They're the ones that are building the railways. And if you are on that side of TikTok that talks about what it's like to live in China, you already know what it's like living in China. P.S. It's not what they tell you. It was important for me as a Black creator to come in and fill this space for other Black creatives. See, who makes this space now will control the empire forever, and they will set the narrative of what will be the history to the future. Today's topic is relevant because there is a huge wave of Black Americans that are beginning to find exit pathways from leaving the States. As we talk about double consciousness and the impacts that it could have, it tremendously affected me in the workplace and just affected me in my life. I've always second guessed myself. I never could feel truly confident in what I was doing in my work because I felt like, oh, they saw me as the Black man, they're expecting mistakes, or they're just second guessing me, or they're doubting me. And not that I wasn't not confident in myself, but the environment, that double consciousness is what put that voice in my head. And that's how I'm trying to get people to understand it, is that double consciousness doesn't give it the right terminology that it actually is. It's more so of like a inner consciousness. That is what the double consciousness is, because it's this voice inside of you telling you you're not good enough, while the other voice inside of you is telling you you're more than good enough, but having that first voice reaffirmed with what the world is saying. Do twice as hard just to get half. Does that not denote that I'm not good enough? But guess what? In fact, you're more than enough. And you're just pitching to the wrong audience. Your audience isn't the West. Your audience aren't Americans. Your audience are people who spiritually, emotionally, mentally, and metaphysically want to reconnect with their roots. So that is what I'm taking the time here. And that is why I chose Ghana. I could have chose places like Brazil. Brazil is nice. I love Brazil. And I think Brazil has a very good ancestral connection to Africa. And I have yet to visit Brazil. However, I 100% believe that I will feel the same way about Brazil. And I just cannot wait to get to Brazil. Brazil is calling me, because Brazil is literally Africa outside of Africa. And I don't think a lot of people know this, but Brazil was actually the largest enslaved African colony outside of the States. Like, Brazil had way more enslaved Africans than they did in the States, the Brazil and the Caribbean. And Brazil particularly, they've done so good with the Orisha and like the Yoruba culture and heritage, and like it's like mini Africa. And I've seen TikToks of it, and I'm like, I just know I would love Brazil. And so I could see Brazil as another place where I could go and be in an enclave, a community where I can sort of escape this double consciousness. But speak of it, as I'm here in London, how do I feel about double consciousness? There is a slight double consciousness here, because I'm not in a society that completely envelops me or completely looks like me. However, I will say I'm not as on edge, because people here seem more interested and intrigued by me. By my look, by my demeanor, by my tone, by my voice. People are like, where are you from? And I don't take offense to that, because everyone here kind of wants to know where you're from, because everyone's from somewhere. And it's like, oh, I'm from Houston, Texas. And they go, and they're looking at me and they're like, well, why do you look like you came from Nigeria yesterday? And like, people will ask me, where are you from? I'm trying to decipher like the accent and the look and everything. And I get it. It's very interesting. But I will say, I don't feel myself living in the double consciousness in the sense of not feeling good enough. Right? I feel like I live outside of it here in London. And I feel like here in London, some odd way or reason, it's like where the East is meeting the West, and where that line of double consciousness kind of disintegrates and dissipates, and where it almost doesn't exist. Not that it doesn't exist, because the United Kingdom, because the United Kingdom and London and Britain, they have their own issues of their own. They have their own histories, and they had enslaved people as well too. So I'm not letting that slide. But what I'm saying is that somehow, some way, the communities and the culture here does not make it feel like to where I am so enveloped in this double consciousness, because I have escapes. You know, I can go to Black enclaves, Black spaces when I really feel the need to sort of get away. But in America, even in Black communities, it's like that double consciousness was just bred in the brains of how people thought. And so even when I was around other people, it was the crab in the barrel mentality. What is the crab in the barrel mentality? Crab in the barrel mentality, and this is a common thing in the Black community. I for sure know it's in the African community as well, even if they don't call it this, is you're trying to pull yourself out by the bootstraps, but another brother see you doing good, so he's trying to pull you down. That crab in the barrel will not let any other crab leave the barrel. That's a crab in the barrel. And so that is sort of the community that I found myself in when I was a Black American in America. However, now I find myself around Black creatives and Black people who are from all across the diaspora and actually are passionate about these missions and want to pour into other Black creatives as well. My journey to Ghana is more than a physical relocation. It is a connection to my roots. It is me becoming one with my ancestors, with understanding myself in relation to the world and how I operate. But more so, it helps me lead. And it helps me figure out how I move through life with a head on my shoulders that does not discourage or discount me based on where I come from, based on my heritage, and based on what I might not have had access to. Ghana was powerful. Ghana moved me. Ghana did something Ghana reawakened a king. Okay? When I stepped foot at Kotoka Airport, a king had been asleep for 1,000 millennia, and he was awakened the second I landed. I felt it. The people felt it. My spirit felt it, but most importantly, my ancestors told me. So let me ask you, if you had the choice to live single consciously, would you? And what do you think it would bring to your life? Heaven or hell? Thank you guys for watching and showing all your support. It's so amazing to see everyone a part of this journey. Like I said, I love coming here every 2 weeks, making these videos and just pouring my soul out. If you want to hear more about my conversation today and you want to know more of what I'm actually thinking when I'm making these videos, feel free to go read the blog post down below, which is linked at theblacknarrative.news. That's where you'll be able to subscribe and find all of my blogs before they become long form videos. And as always, thank you for supporting, and I'll see you in the next video.